Hi, I'm Professor Phil Scher. I'm a professor of anthropology at the University of Oregon. I'm also currently the department head for cinema studies and theater arts. My areas of interest are actually in the Caribbean and in the politics of culture and the politics of history in the Caribbean. So the work I've been doing is on the ways in which people publicly represent their histories, especially around difficult pasts that they might have, and primarily in tourism destinations. So how do you represent difficult history both to a tourism clientele, but also to people who live in the society itself. I've been working for many years in Trinidad and Tobago and in Barbados. But I'm very, very interested in popular culture, and I teach a class on anthropology and popular culture. I teach a class on pirates and piracy, drawing from my years in the Caribbean, but also expanding to other forms of piracy. And then one of my favorite classes to teach is on anthropology and aliens, which uses the lens of science fiction to talk about anthropological concepts of culture. My professional journey, and essentially how I ended up here at the University of Oregon, is, going all the way back. I grew up as the child of an academic. My father was and is an art historian, and as part of that growing up, when I was a child, we lived in Paris, France. I lived there for about 3 years, and we also lived in Morocco, and I became really, really interested in other languages and other cultures and seeing different parts of the world and how people behave differently from each other, etc. So I was kind of captivated by other ways of being and thinking from a really early age. I ended up doing my undergraduate work actually at Brown University in modern culture and media, because at that time I was really interested in popular culture. But I shifted towards storytelling, really. I was really interested in narratives and how narratives shape the way people think about the world. And so I actually started out in a MA and PhD program at the University of Pennsylvania in folklore. And about 2 years into that program, I discovered the anthropology department at Penn and ended up doing a double PhD in folklore and in anthropology. My first job from there was at George Washington University in DC, which is where I had gone to high school actually, so it was kind of a return trip home. And from there I was hired out here at the University of Oregon in 2002, and I've been here ever since. So my current research, for which I'm completing a book right now for Routledge Press, which will be called, actually I'm not exactly sure what the title will be. The title tentatively is An Economy of Souls, which is it's a concept in philosophy, but it was something that somebody used. A visitor to the Caribbean was talking about slavery as an economy of souls, essentially dealing in human souls as this massive part of the Caribbean economy. And I've worked in the Caribbean since the early 90s, and my early work was on the Trinidad Carnival, and as a big public event, a big celebration that drew tourism to the island, was part of their economic base, but also an incredibly meaningful festival. It's essentially the same thing as New Orleans Mardi Gras. Based on that research, I became really, really interested in public history and public culture, and how people represent slavery in heavily touristed areas, whether they do or not, how they think about public monuments, how they think about the plantation houses that are still there, the way they deal with this difficult history in light of also having to cater to the kind of fantasies of the visitors coming to the island about what Caribbean life is. So this current work really sums up research I started all the way back in 2008 and 9 when I first moved to Barbados, and I have been really returning ever since. I now do a study abroad along with some other colleagues in anthropology, where we bring students to Barbados for 6 weeks every summer. And that is really what the book is about. Having been a college athlete, I think often people don't think that those two things go together. I played lacrosse in college and played a lot of ice hockey growing up, and was also a big soccer player, and my high school won the DC City Championship when I was a senior, and sports were a big part of my life. And I don't know that that's the kind of thing people would associate me with. I also am a really avid guitar player, but maybe people might guess that more. I don't know, because I tend to bring music into my classes quite a bit. I think there's sometimes a disconnect with thinking that faculty may have at one point been athletes. So maybe that's one.